Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to film the final video of my kind of mini series of northeast of England beers that I've been doing for you. So we've got another new brewery today. This one is from North Shields in the eastern part of Newcastle upon Tyne. They're called Mordue Brewery and we're going to have a taste of a beer from their Panda Frog project range today. So this one is called Pandademic and it's a 3.5% session IPA. It's hopped with Amarillo and Citra, so it should be a really quite nice one. It was rated as well on Rate Beer at 87, and as I always say, Rate Beer is a very good barometer when it comes to looking for good craft beers. Very rarely will that website lead you wrong. So as always with these kind of northeast of England reviews, I have to give a shout out to the guys at Glug. This is a really nice kind of gourmet food shop and beer shop in the Granger Market, very close to the central station in Newcastle, but they were very nice and helped me pick out the 6 beers that I've done for you as part of this mini-series. So a big thank you to the guys there. Go and check out the link to their Facebook in the description below. They've got some really nice cheesies and salamis and stuff like that, but in their beer shop they've got a lot of local things, some other English beers as well of course, and some Belgians and Germans. It's a really quite nice little shop to go into, so go and check them out. As I say, the Facebook link is in the description below. But as always, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual websites are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that I'll do from Mordue Brewery and Panda Frog project. Of course, this is the very first time I'm trying one of their beers, so hopefully I can add to that in the near future. And there's all the usual social media, Facebook, Twitter and Untappd. Please follow me on there. Your support would be much appreciated. And to those of you watching in the northern part of England, please do let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would recommend. It's very hard to get some of these kind of lesser known English craft beers up in Scotland, so I'd be very grateful to hear from you guys. And of course in Sweden, where I actually live, it's a little bit harder than that, so please do get in touch. But anyway, to tell you about Mordue Brewery. Mordue Brewery was founded in 1995 by brothers Matthew and Gary Fawson, and the brewery is located in North Shields in Newcastle upon Tyne. This is actually in the eastern part of the city, right on the coast. But the brewery is named after another brewery which was in Wallsend Village Green, and this was run by Joseph Mordue back in the 19th century, and apparently he was a very distinguished brewer of the time back then. But the brewery has had 3 locations. The first 2 of these were in West Churton, but the brewery quickly outgrew both of these locations, one of which was purpose built, and they ended up moving to another site in the Tyne Tunnel estate. But the Panda Frog project is an offshoot of the Mordue Brewery, and this began in 2012. Originally these beers were single batch and they were limited edition, but it seems to have been very successful, and they've continued since then. I actually found out about this through a little blog called Rob's Beer Quest, and I believe Rob is actually the head brewer of the Mordue Brewery, so I'll put the link to that in the video description below. But they call this project the official dark side of the Mordue Brewery, and they release these small batch beers every couple of months. And I have to be honest, when I was picking this beer out of the shop, I really picked it because the artwork was cool and it said it was an IPA, so I thought, well, why not give it a go? So yeah, it seems to be very cool. But just to list some of the other beers you can get from Mordue, so in the Mordue core range you have the Worky Ticket, Northumbrian Blonde, and the IPA, Raji Gaji, and also 5 Bridges. They also have spring, summer and Christmas seasonal beers, as well as a few limited edition casks, and Panda Frog Project are always releasing new things too. So just keep an eye on the brewery website and the Facebook pages and things like that, and I'm sure you will be able to keep up to date with the latest goings on at the brewery. So as I said to you at the start of the video, this one is a 3.5% session IPA. It's hopped with Citra and Amarillo. It says on the side here, Panda Frog Project, Mordue Brewery Experimental Arm, created from the twisted genius that is Robert Millichamp, head brewer, and the occasional rationality of the Fawson brothers. So yeah, it says ingredients are all organic, I think it says, or all natural, 2 UK units, and you can see it has some pretty kind of messed up artwork actually. It's really quite cool. As I said, the artwork was really what attracted me to picking this one out for you. It reminds me a little bit of that Adventure Time cartoon. My flatmate really used to like that, and it was really weird that, but it was still cool at the same time. But there you can see it's the Panda Frog Project label on this one, but very nicely presented. This one is best before the 1st of August 2016, and if you search Panda Frog Project you will find these guys on Facebook. Of course, it's a plain black bottle cap on this one, 3.5% session IPA. So let's crack into this beer, the last one in my kind of mini series of northeast of England beers. So this one should be good. So as you can see, quite a smoky opening actually, and it wants to escape, so I'll need to give that a wee clean later, but it's all good. But yeah, like I was saying to you, In Scotland, it's actually very hard to get some of these lesser known English craft beers. We get Beavertown and Arbour and the Rabbit Brewery, of course, from Liverpool as well. There, you get some of the more common English craft beers. Thornbridge as well are another one. But to get beers like this from the lesser known breweries is very difficult. There's some really good craft beer in English, particularly these breweries that brew it in the American style. They produce some really awesome stuff, but it's just very hard to find in Scotland. And another reason for that, of course, is that the Scottish breweries are putting out some very, very good stuff these days. But as you can see, this beer is poured a really nice kind of light golden straw, just like you see the colour of this one under the light. You can see really nice bright orange one there. It's actually difficult in this room to let you see the colour of the beer, but there's a solid kind of half finger, I would say, of a quite bumpy white head on this one. You can see the beer does have a degree of transparency, but it's quite opaque in colour. There's some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, but quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of the head there. But overall, it looks like a very, very nice beer, this. So let's give it a smell and see how we get on. So without sugaring this up too much, you can get some of the distinct aromas from the Citra and the Amarillo hop. The Amarillo hop, of course, is quite citric, and it gives you a really nice sort of floral aromaticity as well. You get a nice orange and floral character from that, and you can definitely smell that and hear some nice citrusy oranges. And the Citra hop, of course, is a more tropical one. You get some peaches, apricots, a little bit of mango and lychees and things like this from the Citra hop. The Citra hop is very good for these complex tropical fruits, and you can definitely pick that up in here. I want to say there's quite a bit of mango and peaches in here. You can smell the orange coming out of this one, I think. Maybe a little bit of apricot too. Apricots, peaches. But there is an underlying element of a sort of floral character. That's quite mild though. It actually comes across as quite grassy, but there is an underlying floral and maybe slightly piney character. But again, those two elements are very, very subtle, and you can smell the kind of underpinning bready and caramel character from this beer. There's a little bit of a biscuity malt in there too. But the main thing is it smells quite nice. As I always say with your beers, take a little bit of time and just give them a good smell before you actually get stuck into them. Especially when you've got hops like Amarillo, and particularly the Citra as well. The Citra has a lot of complexity to it with these tropical fruit notes. So it always is worth trying to pick out these different aromas and just see how you get on. But without further ado then, we'll get stuck into this beer. So this is the Pandademic, a 3.5% session IPA, Citra and Amarillo hops from the Panda Frog project from Mordue Brewery in North Shields, Newcastle. The last video in my mini-series of Northeast of England beers. Slàinte, and I hope you guys enjoy this review and that you've enjoyed the series. Cheers. Well, on first taste, it's very light, and it comes across with quite a bit of dark hoppy character, I would say. You really need to sugar the beer around in your mouth a little bit to let your whole palate adjust to this beer. But it does have, it doesn't tell you what the IBU is on the label, I don't think, as far as I can see. But the first thing you're going to notice about this beer is that it is quite in your face with the IBUs and the hoppiness. It's really quite nice, so just take a little bit of time and let your whole palate adjust to this beer. Sugar it around inside your mouth and see how you get on. Yeah, this beer has a really strong floral aromatic character just underpinning these hoppy flavours around the edge of the tongue. If you go to the back corners of the palate, there's a good dryness from the floral aromatic character there, and it's quite a kind of dank or dark floral aromaticity in there. And as you come further forward, it smooths out a little bit. You get a bit of dry character around the front corners, and it is maybe more grassy around that very front curve of the tongue. The middle of the palate, you've just got a very light bready character, but it's quite biscuity, a little bit grainy I would say, but some sweeter caramel in there as well, just that little bit richer. But the main focus of this beer really is the hops, and when it's a session IPA, it's going to be light and it's going to be quite bitter and quite drinkable. But the bitter character, of course, is what attracts a lot of people to this IPA style. So yeah, once your palate is adjusted to this beer a little bit better, you can pick out some of these other flavours in here. Yeah, there's a little bit, I would say there's a little bit of an orangey citrus in there, but that's quite subtle. For me, the fruit character in this is a real, it's almost like a punch bowl, to be honest. Everything is mixing together, but later, once you start to progress to the aftertaste, that's when you start to get a bit more of a distinct flavour to it. There's some peaches coming out of there, a little bit of apricot, I would say, as well, and perhaps maybe even some juicier mangoes. But for me, the fruits come out a little bit later as you move into the aftertaste. It seems like a kind of punch bowl when you first take this beer in, but it really becomes a bit more distinct later on in the flavour as you get into the aftertaste. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that you can get a little bit of this almost dusty, peachy flavour out of this one, which is quite nice. As I say, the mangoes and apricots are in there too, but the peaches are quite prominent in this one. The citra hop, of course, gives you that nice tropical fruit complexity. There's a bit of an orangey citrus there too. That's kind of underpinning these tropical fruit flavours, but the main focus of the fruit for me is more of an apricot-y or sort of peach flavour. But it's very nice actually. It's nicely done, this one, and for only being 3.5%, it's a good hoppy blast. But I think that the main focus of the flavour for me is more that kind of darker floral aromaticity that comes out of this beer. It's a big hoppy and quite refreshing beer, this one. It would be an ideal summer beer, in fact. So it's one that you have to try for yourself because it's quite unique, I guess, in the IPA style. It uses two quite common hops, but for me, the flavours in this one are quite distinct. Yeah, fruity character just builds as you move through this beer. The malt base, again, is very subtle. A little bit of bread, some cereally character, and a bit of richer caramel. There's not too much going on there, but the main focus is the hops in this one. It is quite in your face, and again, that's quite impressive for it only being 3.5%. But in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, it's quite light bodied. The carbonation is actually quite prickly in this one. It does have a little bit more activity to it, and that suits the kind of higher higher IBUs, I should say, sorry, in this one. That slightly more active carbonation suits this. It's a little bit oily, but it's more of a wet mouthfeel, this one. Just a very light, oily character to this. There's a little bit of a juicy fruit, as I said, that builds in the aftertaste, but there's a lot of hoppy bitterness to this beer and just a little bit of malty sweetness, but the malt isn't too prominent either. It's just a little bit of sweetness. But overall, this is a really quite nice beer. I would recommend this one as a sort of summer session beer, so that kind of surprises me a little bit that they're bringing it out at Christmas. I would have thought this would have been a beer that they released specifically for the kind of hotter times in the year, because it's a very good light sessionable beer. So yeah, overall it's another very, very nice beer, and it's cool to try one from another one of these breweries who are quite well known in Newcastle, of course, because we don't get too many Newcastle beers up here in Scotland. So really quite cool, and I've never seen these beers over in Sweden where I actually live either, so very cool to do something a little bit different for you on the channel. But as always, if you do happen to have tried this beer before, please let me know your own thoughts on it. Always interesting to hear from you guys that are watching the videos. I would recommend this beer to people who want something that's quite forward on the floral aromatic side of things. So if you like a big floral aromatic, more English style IPA, this one could be something for you. It does have a little bit of subtle American kind of fruit character to it, but overall for me it's a bit more forward on the floral aromatic side of things. It's really nice, quite lightly sessionable. For me, it's a kind of ideal summer beer, and if you like beers that are quite big and bitter, I'm sure you will enjoy this one. So go and check out Mordue Brewery and of course their Panda Frog range. This one was the Pandemic, which is really quite an enjoyable beer. So yeah, go and check it out. But I thank you once again for watching my beer reviews. As I said, let me know your own thoughts on it. But until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Go and check out my social media things. I hope you've enjoyed this mini series of northeast of England beers. It's been really cool to do something a little bit different for you on the channel. I hope you enjoy the Brewdog reviews that are coming up as well. But I thank you again for watching, and until the next one, slange just now, do subscribe to the channel, and there's many more interesting things to come. But go and check out Mordue Brewery and their Panda Frog project range. Cheers just now, and hopefully I can do more of these for you fairly soon. Cheers.